It's like cooking your own.
Right, so the best way I basically have learned with, say, when you're, say, cooking, say, a minced beef on, say 20% fat, also when you're basically trying to lose the weight, is the water side to basically water steaming is probably one of the best ways that you can cook pretty much anything that, say, is fatty, but also in a good fat, but also has the high calories, but while you're trying to keep the calories low, and you're taking away, say, using, say, a butter, or say an oil, or say an olive oil that then takes the calories down. Basically, is all you really say want to do is just let the pan warm up, and then you add the water to the pan, and then when the diced onions go in, the diced onions will actually become a lot browner a lot quicker with, say, the water, because the water will like steam it to get it a good colour. But say if you're cooking, let's say, something like a beef sausages or something on terms like that, a way around it is you just keep on adding more and more water to the pan every few minutes, every minute. Then when you give it a shake, it kind of quickly basically makes the sausage not stick to the pan, or say something like that, and it basically helps you really, do it on a, say, keep the calories lower, because of course the actual cooking oil or the butter or whatever you're cooking it with actually takes the oil up. With this pan now is as basically you're basically waiting for the pan to really kind of like, say, hit a certain temperature, and then once it's hit it, you then just going straight in with the. Right, so now it's basically going now basically just, and then within, say, probably like every few minutes, you just kind of like add more water to the pan until the onions go whatever colour you want, and then all the brownish colour, and all this will basically do is this will just really save in calories, because it's basically just your steam. You basically steam. I wouldn't say like steam cooking it. You're using the steam from the water as a way to. Now, see, without, say, the meat even being in yet, which we're basically going to, say, like begin to slightly pre-make the sauce within the onions, because in that way, all you're basically doing is you're basically just like making the onions to the sauce. Shit. You'll basically begin to slightly add, say, the herbs and whatnot, just to start flavouring the onions with, say, the sauce. You're basically making some tiny onion tomato sauce in a, say, sort of now, and then when then, say, the meat does go in, you can then start prepping it. Now again, we're going to go back into the water and get a bit more of a taste. And then basically now just like, so we'll basically now just kind of like turn it down, just because in a minute we're going to then add the rest of the tomato, basically the tomato, just pure tomato tin, while the kettle boiling for the pasta. Now turn it down, and then roll, leave it for passively. And when it comes basically to the salt, it's like it's like you're banging about salt as like it's literally the devil. No, basically, kind of depends how you do it. You use it for like flavour, but like over flavouring it, it's nasty, and you just put tons of salt in it, and fair enough. But if you basically use it on a good balance, it's not really devil basically. It basically makes food more exciting to eat. Because I never got people, let's say people that typically said that with food and say we're going to lose weight, if it tastes nice then it must be bad for you. But to a degree, I do say that for like, look, and on the other hand, I say it's bullshit, because if you're going to sit there and you're gonna eat, say tuna and pasta, let's say, and it's basically disgusting, like say, disgusting. You're not really gonna eat it. You're basically just gonna put it in the bin and just order a takeaway. It's simple as that. But if you actually say make something, say something that you've cooked, let's say like a bolognese, a chili, lasagna, whatever you make basically, and you make it nice, is you're basically gonna eat it. But if you go out there and just make something just rank basically, because you get it from the expert that you'll never be, basically, without being nasty, then you know you're just gonna basically order a takeaway because you're not gonna eat it because you're gonna think it's rank basically. And even if you try and force it down, you're still gonna have a takeaway because let's say about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be hungry because you've had nothing basically. I always said you should cook to how you like food, but remember that you shouldn't go overboard with say adding extra calories in just for the taste. It's like cooking your own sauce will always be a choice, will always be basically better than like adding a sauce cooked, because of course you basically keep the calories lower, and in some ways if you know how to cook it good, it can actually be a lot better than these over. Now see, without say the meat even being in yet, which we're basically going to say like begin to slightly pre-make the sauce within the onions, because in that all you basically do is you're basically just like making the onions to the sauce. Shit. You'll basically begin to slightly add say the herbs and whatnot, just to start flavoring the onions with say the sauce. You're basically making tiny onion tomato sauce in a sense. You sort them out, and then when say the meat does go in, but now you say prepping it. Now we say the end of the sauce. Now the three things will be some basically right, and the Worcester sauce basically will just give it quite a decent flavour. Final thing then will be like two basically like within the frying pan. You get the exact right amount to basically flip just the boil and steam, as now that is now going to